What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and as you're moving forward into the last week of this month, it is time for us to check out another episode of top 10 brand new completely free to play games you can play right now during the month of November. So whether you're looking for a massive open world games, a battle royale games, RPG games, first person shooter games, or even some cool fighting games, there are so many games to check out. And of course all of these games are 100% free to play. You can simply go ahead and download them right now on Steam. Alright, I'm starting with an extremely underrated fighting game that I found on Steam, and it is called Exploding Judo Federation. It is a fast-paced 3D fighting game where every single grab is absolutely lethal. That means if you get grabbed, you explode and the game is pretty much over for you. There is no blocking in the game, which sounds terrifying, but honestly I feel like that's what makes this game so much unique to play. The gameplay revolves around this 5 simple button system: punch, kick, grab, dash and roll. And you're basically dancing around trying to bait your opponent into making a mistake so you can grab them and watch them go boom. You can use strike to set up grabs, rolls around dodge, and every character has their own super move which can instantly end the game, whether it's an invincible grab or a full screen laser. Honestly, a pretty fun and a very underrated fighting game in my opinion. I think it's definitely worth jumping into since the game is completely free to play on Steam. And also I have to mention there is no any online play here. The game is strictly local multiplayer and single player, so you can either complete the game solo or you can grab another friend and play with him on split screen. Alright, our next game is a love letter to the old school horror survival games, and this one called Aftershock Coastline. It's a completely free to play single player survival first person game that is heavily inspired from Resident Evil's design and Bioshock's atmosphere. And throughout the game you're exploring this old military bunker at a coastline, spending about an hour diving deep into this seaside facility and trying to figure out what the hell went wrong. The gameplay is very straightforward old school first person horror survival stuff. You got 3 distinctive weapons to master, and you're scavenging for resources as you go and try to fight these odd looking mutant creatures that are genuinely unsettling. The combat feels punchy when it works, the guns animation can be a bit janky, and the hit detection also a bit wonky sometimes. For an indie title, that is fine, but there are still some definite improvement to be made here. And as I said before, it's a completely single player free to play title which will take you around maybe hour and an hour and a half maximum to complete, and for a free hour long horror experience with solid atmosphere and decent combat, you honestly can't go wrong with this one. Plus it won't cost you anything, so I would recommend you guys to download and give it a try. Alright, next up we got Spartan Survivors, and this is basically what happened when you throw Halo into Vampire Survivors. And honestly this game is kinda genius and fun in a very unique way. It's a free to play bullet hell roguelike game where you're fighting hordes of flood enemies, and if you ever played the game Vampire Survivors, you already know the vibe. You're basically in the middle of the screen and enemies coming out from all directions, and you're just trying to survive while your weapon auto fire and you collect upgrades to become an absolute powerhouse. At the moment the game has 10 playable levels and 5 difficulty modes ranging from easy up to legendary. There are a total of 21 weapons and tons of evolution, perks and upgrades to collect. So there is actually a surprising amount of content here for customizing your build and finding what works for you. And also there is no any online component. The game is 100% single player. You can download it right now for absolutely free, and on top of that you simply don't have to worry about the system requirement. The game should run perfectly fine on a low-end PC or a laptop. Alright, next up we got Saito, and honestly this game is something genuinely special. This is a visual novel that's gonna stick with you long after you finish it, and the game set in the USSR in 1986 in a closed city where you're playing as a guy who's a quiet outcast, and you are the only one who seems to care about a girl that has gone missing at the moment, and nobody else is concerned, and you're basically trying to unravel the mystery while transmitting radio signals to the universe and figuring out what the hell is going wrong in this strange town. It's a very slow story heavy game, so if you're someone who really into action, the gameplay might take you off. It's a pure visual novel, so you're basically reading, making occasional choices and piecing together the deeply atmospheric story. And I can understand this style of games may not be for everyone, but if you're a fan of this genre, this is an excellent free to play single player game to jump in. And no doubt at the moment the game is having 98% overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, so try the game out for yourself and let me know down below what you think. Alright, if you are a fan of bite-sized horror games, next up we got In Our Parlor. This one is a very short horror walking simulator style of a game that is all about the atmosphere and getting in on your head. So you're playing as the game developer who falls asleep at home and get trapped in a nightmare vision of a game world that he was creating. So the only way to wake up is to navigate through your own twisted creation and reach the parlor, which sounds simple but absolutely not. The gameplay is super straightforward walking simulator stuff. You get a lantern as your only light source and you're navigating through a series of dark set pieces while following music to discover the path forward. There is not really any combat, no puzzles, just pure atmospheric exploration where you're trying to piece together what really happened and while try not to freak out. It is a totally free single player title, will take you less than an hour to complete, and also at the moment the game is having 87% positive reviews as well. So honestly, if you're into horror walking simulator style of games, this one is an easy recommendation. If you're a fan of JRPG games and looking for something brand new to jump in, next up we got Overfill. This one is an adorable free-to-play gacha RPG that just launched on Steam, and it is giving major cozy vibes and mix of exploration adventure. The gameplay is basically a mix of exploration and some light-hearted combat. Other than that, throughout the game you have to complete some very simple puzzles, mini games, and the combat is described as charming rather than intense. It's a very cozy, colorful, cute game. At the moment having mostly positive reviews on Steam, but if you are a long time viewer of my channel, you guys know I'm not a big fan of JRPG style games. Those are not my cup of tea. I don't really like the style or the combat. But if you are a fan of JRPG, anime, action RPG style of games, this game seems like a very solid option to jump in. Alright, moving on to our next game, we got Dungeon Stalkers, and the game very recently got its 1.0 update and now it's a fully released title on Steam. And for those of you who don't know, it's a free-to-play PvE and a PvP extraction dungeon crawler that is basically trying to be dark and darker but with some anime aesthetics. You're venturing through this cursed dungeon as several playable characters called Stalkers, each with their own backstory and unique combat abilities. And the main goal is to enter the dungeon, survive, loot and extract yourself to safety through open portals within the time frame, and sometimes it can be pretty intense. The gameplay is basically third-person dungeon crawler where you fight off these weird looking skeletons, goblins while exploring these maze-like dungeons. And I believe there are 9 playable stalkers and 3 needed to be unlocked via the seasonal pass with premium currency. You can play solo, co-op or PvP mode. There is also an adventure mode where PvP is completely disabled but you only get very few rewards. The combat looks more action-packed but it's a bit slow, more methodical, focusing on timing and positioning, and of course ultimately your loot can be sold for gold, craft weapons and upgrade your hideout, all those sort of typical stuff. But to be honest, I don't really like this anime fantasy aesthetic that they are going for, which I think it don't really fit the grim atmosphere in the game. Plus the monetization is a bit aggressive, giving more advantage to the paid players, which is the reason why the game is sitting on mixed reviews at the moment, and it is something to keep in mind. Sword of Justice is a massive free-to-play wuxia MMO that just hit on Steam and definitely making some waves, although it's not all for the good reasons. The game set in this breathtaking reimagination of Song Dynasty, and the story is surprisingly strong for an MMO with solid narrative, branching dialogue choices and replayable chapters. The gameplay is a massive open-world MMO experience with tons of systems layered on top of each other. Combat is fast-paced and focused on parries and precise timing instead of fixed classes. Beyond combat, there is housing systems, in-game marriage, minigames including Lias Bar, guild events, PvP arenas, and ridiculous amount of side activities. The game looks very strong on paper, but it's painfully obvious that it is a mobile game ported onto Steam. Because of that, it is a bit messy with cluttered UI, rendering issues, plus some poor optimization. But the good thing is that the game is 100% free to play with no hard paywalls, and the dev says that there will be no any pay-to-win elements. Plus the game is very popular on mobile, especially on Asia. So if you're someone who enjoys the game on mobile, you can obviously cross-play on PC, which had to be one of the biggest benefits of this game. Alright, moving on to our last couple of games. Next up we got Sonic Rumble, and this is basically Sega's answer to the Fall Guys, and honestly this one is a bit of a train wreck. It is a free-to-play arcade battle royale where up to 32 players racing, battling through stages to collect the most rings, and you play as Sonic, Knuckles and bunch of other Sonic World characters and customizing them with skins, animations and emotes. The gameplay is straightforward battle royale stuff, very similar to Fall Guys, with multiple rounds that eliminate half of the players each time until you're down to the final 8. You get different game modes like Ring Survival, where you have to collect rings while surviving, and Special Rumble with run battles and survival battles, including stuff like Hyper Boost battles, low gravity battles. You can even create custom matches to play with your friends. I feel like the game modes are fun to play maybe for a couple of hours, then after that it feels a bit repetitive and you're probably gonna get bored with it, but overall in my opinion the gameplay is pretty fun and chaotic. But when it comes to overall monetization, this game is completely fall apart. It is absolutely predatory. The skin cost you around $40 to $60 and multiple battle passes running simultaneously, gacha rolls, subscription services, and the game consistently spamming you with offers after every match. The game isn't exactly pay to win, so most of these stuff are pretty much cosmetics. So as long as you can ignore all of these cosmetic stuff, there's a fun battle royale game underneath it, and the game is very much playable on a low-end PC or a laptop, so you simply don't have to worry about the system requirements. Alright, moving on to number 1 spot, we got one of the best games to come out in 2025, and that is Where Winds Meet. The game just launched on Steam and it is absolutely exploding over 2 billion players in the first weekend with over 200,000 plus concurrent players on Steam alone. And at the moment the game is sitting on 85% positive reviews, which is wild for a free-to-play MMO. This is an epic wuxia open world action adventure RPG set in the 10th century China, and you're playing as a young swordmaster uncovering the mysteries of your own identity. The story is actually pretty engaging with branching paths and meaningful choices, and the game is also packed with 150 plus hours of single player content, which is crazy to think about. The gameplay is where the things get absolutely bonkers, because this game has packed almost every successful video game element from the last decade under its hood. We got Sekiro-like pairing, flashy combat, Souls-like bosses, platforming, stealth, dungeons, a fully fledged single player campaign, an online multiplayer, plus an incredible amount of mini games. Visually, the game looks absolutely stunning and has a massive open world to explore. I'm still on the very early stage of the game, spent about a couple of hours, and it is honestly incredible, but I'm not the biggest fan of the game's UI. It feels a bit cluttered, and there's about 4 million currencies and upgrade systems that you have to keep your eye on. And yes, it feels a bit overwhelming at first, and the game doesn't really do a good job of explaining these stuff to you. But other than that, I honestly don't really have much to complain. The game is completely free to play, and you don't really need to spend money on anything to enjoy the game unless you want some fancy cosmetics. For a free-to-play game, it's stunning experience with well-balanced monetization, incredible combat, and a beautiful open world to explore. If you're a fan of action RPG, MMO style of games, this had to be one of the best games to come out in the last couple of years. So guys, if you haven't played the game yet, now is the best time to jump in and enjoy. Well, there you have it guys, 10 of the best completely free brand new games come out in November 2025. And if you found your new favorite free-to-play title to jump in, let me know down in the comment section. And as always guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel for more free-to-play game coverage like this. I'll catch you guys soon in the next one. Stay safe.